Andrew, when you first stepped into Tettenhall College, things were rather different.
Very different. For a start, dismiss from your mind anything electronic apart from a radio. There was nothing like a computer, there were no DVDs, there were no televisions really, apart from black and white ones that gave you 625 lines. And on one of those days, in about 1966, my parents took me up to the college, and I sat a written entry examination. It was a strange day because I was crammed in a room, a small room, with a whole bunch of other lads, and I knew it was important. But I'd got to get through it. And the strange thing was I passed through the examination, and there was one key bit that I couldn't understand, and that was how to tell the time. Believe it or not, at the age of six and a half or something like that, I still didn't know how to tell the time, but I expect a lot of kids didn't then. But the boy sitting next to me was called Andrew Sargent. That name will come up a bit later on. He noticed my predicament. He slid his paper over to me, where I cheated for the only time in my life. Honestly, Mr. Dale, the only time in my life. And I think that basically Andrew Sargent saw that it was a good investment.
I thought you were worth investing in.
Worth investing in. I got into the college, no great problems, then went to have an interview with my parents and Mr. Cope. Mr. Cope was the head teacher of the lower school. The headmaster of the whole school was somebody different, as I believe it still is now, isn't it? It's exactly the same. That was a Mr. Field Hyde. I can't remember much about this thing with Mr. Cope, but I can remember afterwards another one of the boys whose name I remember is Nigel Grosvenor. As we came out of the Jack's block, Nigel ran across the lawn, cutting the corner off. Colin Cope was a great disciplinarian. He didn't like this. And even if there were parents around, he would berate people. So poor Nigel got it in the neck and was told to go back into the Jack's block and come out like a civilised human being, walking on the paving slabs and the drive. I was living on the Codsall Road, which is about 2 miles away from the college.
Do you know why your parents took you there in the first place?
No, not really. It's interesting to hear young people now have a choice of what school they go to. I didn't. I didn't know anybody in my year. We just went where like the army, you just go where you're sent. So no, I didn't know. I think it's just because they wanted, they could afford a good school for me and then eventually my brother. And so that's what they wanted. They had basically, they'd both gone to university. They'd both come out and they'd done jobs. My father was the main breadwinner, being a dentist. And they wanted the same chance for us, basically. Dad was the first, and Mom was the first generation of our family to go to university. So they saw the benefit of it and thought, right, our two, or eventually went to three, are going to do the same. Yeah. That's the only reason I can think of.
Then you just followed their direction,
really?
I
just followed their direction, yeah.
So what were your first impressions then? You talk about Mr. Cope being quite a strict disciplinarian. Did you find it an intimidating place or a friendly place?
I found it pretty friendly on the whole. Mr. Cope was quite frightening to start off with. The building itself I found fascinating because I'd come from a primary school that was all formica and painted wood. And it was relatively modern. It was built in the 1950s. I went straight into Tettenhall Towers, more about that later, which was an incredibly weird building that's been added to, and like Topsy had just grown over the years. But I grew to love it. I think it's an absolutely fantastic place now.
When you first went into the school then, were you being taught in Jack's block, or were you
No, the teaching in the first year, my first school form master was Mr. Tutton. He was a slim, elderly gentleman with mousy brown hair, a walrusy moustache, and he taught maths. And he was a very nice bloke, and everybody used to nickname him General Tutton. And I thought, okay, maybe he was in the army or something. Well, I've since found out that he was a Royal Engineer and he was a brigadier, probably in the Second World War, so that's pretty high up. But he was a nice chap. I remember him very well. He was each form had a form master who did the roll call in the morning and the admin for that class of boys. But then you had individual teachers for different subjects. So French would be Brian Bosworth to start with. Nigel Grattan would be doing geography for you, etc. Mr. Cope did history and I think English. But you stayed in that room. So my first room was a room, if you go into the towers, at the far end of it, nearest the drive school, you're going through the double doors there into a little hall. Right at the end of that hallway is a huge curved glass door.
There is, yes.
I've never seen anything like that before or since. Yeah. That was my classroom in there. That was Form 1.
So that's a meeting room today, isn't
yes,
it? The room on the right-hand side, yeah.
It's been knocked through to the room at the other end. There were 2 separate rooms there.
Oh, okay. So it was much smaller. So you went in through the second door.
So through the second door.
Yeah, rather than the standard
from
door.
The first, yes.
Okay. So you went through the glass sort of semicircular one.
Push the semicircular door out of the way. Very heavy. Yeah. I'm amazed it wasn't broken, to be honest with you.
It's still there.
It's still there, yes. I saw it a few weeks ago, yes. So that was my first form teacher was Mr. Tutton. Mr. Tutton used to put mustard on his food. And I'd never come across this weird stuff before. So I thought, I suppose I better try a bit of this. So I plastered some mustard on my beef and it nearly blew my head off at the age of 7. I did not forget it. And every time I see mustard now, I think of General Tutton. I've sort of grown for a taste for it now, but it's taken me 60 years. So.
Well, it's quite sharp for a young child, isn't
it?
It
really is, yeah. Yeah, more about the dining hall later on. Anyway, I got in there. I even won a scholarship, possibly services to cheating, I don't know. And the fees were £70 per term. And for some reason, I got a scholarship which was £70 per annum. So Dad got 70 quid off. He got a whole term free. Yeah. He got a third. Yeah. Yeah. When I left the place, it was more like just over £300 a term, I think. Yeah. 10 years later when I left.
And I suppose the fees went up as you got older anyway,
steadily,
didn't they?
I think so, yeah. I think they probably did.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what year did you go? Was it 1966, did you say?
66, 67, yes, something like that.
So I was just going to run the inflation calculator and
see
what that came out as these days.
It comes out in sovereigns.
Yeah. So that was your first year. So what did they call that then? Elementary year, prep year?
What was just Form 1? I believe so, Form 1. Yeah.
And then you went into Form 2?
Form 2.
Okay, so when you went to the senior school...
went to the senior school, you became lower 4th. Lower 4th, upper 4th, lower 5th, upper 5th, lower 6th, and then A-level year, upper 6th. And there was also something which was cruelly called 6th remove. That was for the lads who weren't really very bright. And it was to try and get them up to speed to do what used to be called CSE examinations. Can't remember what that stands for now. Instead of the ones that...
Certificate of Secondary Education or something.
Certificate of Secondary Education. Yeah. We were doing the GCEs, which are now called GCSEs, I believe.
Yeah, well, there would have been O-levels then, wouldn't there?
O-levels then, yes, I'm sorry, there were O-levels.
So actually you didn't have a conventional... Because most schools, of course, at that time, when you transitioned at age 11 to the senior school, that would be called your first year. But obviously because they're counting from year 1 when you're age 6 or whatever, then it goes through to lower 4th, upper 4th and so on.
That is a very old-fashioned way of doing it.
Isn't it?
Lower 4th, upper 4th, etc. It's very old-fashioned. I haven't come across a single school since that does it that way, but that's the way the college did it. Remember, the college was like Hogwarts anyway. It was completely off the leash. A very interesting place to go to.
Did you find Towers a little bit scary then when you first went in?
No, not really. Was it ghostly? No, it wasn't. I only know of one ghost story, which I'll tell you. Friend of mine, when he was about 15, was late in the Towers doing something. He was a grade 8 pianist, and in the rooms above the Great Hall, there are 2 big classrooms and a corridor there. And on the other side of the 2 big classrooms were 3 small rooms, which were probably used for the maids and servants' quarters, because there was a little fireplace in there and there was a skylight window. You can just imagine a couple of cupboards stuffed in there, and that's all you got. In my day, they got pianos in there. How they got baby grand pianos up the stairs. Up there, I don't know. But there were people practicing. So Vince hears somebody practicing. Hope he doesn't mind me naming him. So he thinks, oh, that's quite good. I'll go and find out who it is. As soon as he gets up there and he opens the door, the music stops. There's nobody in there. At which he left the building rapidly. So, there are other stories as well, which there was I think a parent who was helping do the props and the set for a play, and they were running way behind time. So they were working late, and he was the last one on the premises, slapping some paint on something or whatever. When he'd finished, he went round, he switched all the lights off. And even back in those days, all the lights was a lot of switches. They were all over the place. He walked out of the back door, he got in his car, and all the lights came back on again.
Oh, goodness me.
He did not stick around to find out what was going on. He just left them. So there are ghost stories about it, but I myself have never witnessed anything.
No, and you found it quite a welcoming place then?
Yeah, on the whole. I was there quite a lot, evenings, afternoons and stuff like this. There were scout groups to go to, which didn't finish till 9 o'clock. So, yeah, there were people coming and going all the time there.
And you say it was it £60, did you say it was? Or
£70. £70 a term, yeah.
So, actually, if we go to 1966 and we look at £70, that comes in as 1,140 in
20 times.
2025, yeah.
Yes.
So you were in that for your first year. And the teachers came to that room to teach you, so you didn't go anywhere else.
No.
What about the wider college? I mean, did you go into Jack's Block? Did you go anywhere else?
We went not into Jack's Block so much. That was just an unknown territory for us. But we used to go over to Big School, where we would have lunch and then tea.
And when you're talking about Big School, are you talking over by the chapel in that area?
Under the chapel.
Yeah.
Used to be called Big School. It's now very different.
That's the study centre today.
That's a study centre, all right? It's got a mezzanine floor in it, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
But it didn't have when I was there. It was covered with boards with boys' names on it all the way around for hockey and head boys and all the rest of it. Right. Very Edwardian. We used to go over there for lunch. And then we'd troop back. We'd all make a big snake and go down there.
Did you have lunch in there then?
We had lunch in Big School.
In that room?
In that room.
And it was a big high ceiling then, was it? Yeah, just one
big room. That's right, yeah. See. So all the classes would troop in there. Then tea was in the main, what you would know as the dining hall now. And we'd go for tea. And then people who were day boarders, like me, used to go back and do 2 hours of homework or something like that and then go home.
So you actually had lunch and tea?
Yeah.
What time was tea then?
4:30, something like that.
So was that at the end of the normal school day?
Yeah, that was the end of the normal school day.
Right.
And then I stayed there to do some homework.
Were you expected to do that? Or
yes.
Was that, yeah.
Yes, that was part of it. And their dad came and picked us up.
So you'd stay till what, 6 o'clock, half 6, something like that?
6.
Yeah, 6. Yeah.
Then 7:15, and then 7:45. In the last 2 years was 7:45 we'd finish.
So you were expected to do your homework on the site,
yeah.
On the premises. It wasn't homework, it was work that was being done at school, basically. After school.
It was homework, except it was the school gave you the chance to do it at school, and then you didn't need to worry about it at home,
right?
Technically speaking. The day boys used to finish and go home for tea like everybody does nowadays at every other school. And the boarders were there all the time, of course.
Yeah.
They were there all the time.
So what time did the school day start? Was it 9?
9:05 or something.
Yeah, they start earlier these days and then finish earlier. Yeah,
they do. The day in the lower school started in the Great Hall, and one of the classes, would have to lay out about 100 chairs, metal and wooden chairs. And we'd all sit on those, sing a hymn, do this, do that, take whatever was the information for the day to be going on with, and then split up. And the same form would then put all these chairs back. It was like a machine. Yeah. We got to it. Stack them all up at the end and then start our day.
So it's in the theatre?
In the theatre.
Yeah, as it is today, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So you had assembly every day, basically?
We had an assembly every day, yes. Assembly every day.
So lessons would start at what, 9:30, something like that?
About that, yes. Yes. And there were, I believe, 8 a day. There were three, then break, 2, and then lunch, and then another 3 in the afternoon. The second year was a different room. The third and fourth were different rooms, and so was the fifth. I think the fifth was back in one of the original ones. But when we'd finished that was lower school finished. That was lower school done, and you moved to upper school, and then the classrooms were all in the Jacks block, on the woods side of the Jacks block. Yeah. So you'd have a class there, you'd have your desk in there with graffiti all over it, of course. You stick all your books in there and hope they were there the next day. They usually were.
Well, they lift up desks then.
They were lift up.
They lift up with the old inkwell on them.
Yes, yes, that's right. Yeah, they were. Of course, the science block was just down the corridor. The geography block was just at the other end. And then they put another story on it. Those rooms were used for tutorials as much because they were quite small.
Do you remember them putting the extra?
I remember them putting the extra layer on.
So,
yes.
so it wasn't there when you first went. Okay.
No, it wasn't. No.
Right.
No, there will be photographs of that without.
So this would be late 60s then when that was being done, presumably.
Early 70s.
Early 70s.
Yes.
Okay.
Early 70s, I would have said. Then of course there's the baths, which is just an antique, but
it still is.
Well,
what are your memories of that then?
The baths. I used to do a lot of swimming. The first time I got in there was a Welsh teacher called Mr. Lee. He was a very nice man. And we'd all got swimming trunks on, and they're like all got our towels and all ready to go. He said, right, all jump in the shallow end and then swim a width. And all the boys who couldn't swim was you, and you. Tell your parents you need swimming lessons. So I went home and I got swimming lessons, not at the college. Got it at the old central baths here in Wolverhampton. Yeah. But those baths, they were strange because the one lane on the left side was a bit longer than the lane on the right-hand side.
Right.
It was a trapezoid, I think, the actual thing was.
It wasn't squared off properly.
It wasn't squared off. It did have, thankfully, a filtration plant attached to it, which it didn't have when it was built.
No, I've read this. I mean, it was all mud and silt and all sorts, wasn't there, at the bottom?
It was a caning offence to stir the muck on the bottom of the pool. Yeah, it meant that basically if you were swimming the mile, the boy in the leftmost lane had to swim a different number of lengths to the boy on the rightmost lane. The changing rooms, which they've got some partitions in there now, I think. Giant building with probably an asbestos roof. Yeah. And it was just huge with lots and lots of rails with hot water running through them. And of course the heat just went whoop, straight up out the ceiling. Gone. Useless.
Freezing cold showers.
Freezing cold everything. Mm. And I remember when I'd just gone there and we were learning how to play rugby, which a game I never got on with particularly well. But it was freezing cold outside, absolutely freezing. There were icy ponds everywhere. And when we came back in to get changed, I couldn't do my top button up because my fingers were so cold. It would be cruelty to children now, wouldn't it? Almost certainly. Anyway, thankfully a lad came up and volunteered his help and I managed to get my tie on anyway. But yes, it was absolutely freezing there. Yeah. In fact, in the towers in the morning, at morning assembly, sometimes we'd get there in the winter and Colin Cope would say, the central heating's died. However, there's none of this, we've all got to go home. No, you just stayed there and we all sang songs. We just sat there singing Kumbaya until the engineer had come and belted it with a hammer a few times. So, yeah, that was different as well.
So you moved into Jack's block for senior school,
that's
effectively,
right.
Yeah.
The second half.
Yeah, and you moved between various classrooms.
Yes.
There. And you started moving around then, presumably.
Yes, started to move around a lot. Hardly ever went back to the towers. No lessons were held there, but all the clubs I was in, and the like of the drama that I used to mess about, I was going back there all the time for that.
Was music done over there as well?
It may have been. Yeah. Yes, actually, I did play the clarinet very badly for some years, and the music lessons were in a room in the towers. Yes,
because there were teachers actually living in the towers.
Yeah, there were about 8 of them, I think. There was Malcolm Davey, who was the music teacher. Jeff Hopkinson, he lived there for a while. Colin Cope, Jim Baxter, who was a maths teacher. That's 4 I can remember, but there were others who came and went as well. Some of them only stayed for a short while. But yeah, people used to live on it.
What was it like as a day pupil in terms of your relations with the boarders? Did you mix match?
We did, but not a lot. It was always a slightly different group that you were with if you were with the boarders. Later on, I got on pretty well with some of them. Some of them became close friends. But on the whole, they were viewed as an odd lot. In the same way, we used to view the day boys as an odd lot because they got to go home 3 hours earlier than we did. So there were 3 tribes within the school. Didn't come to fisticuffs. It's just, oh yeah, you're a boarder, right. It was just recognised that you were in one of these 3 tribes. We had boys from all over the country. We had some overseas, even in the 1960s. One guy from Borneo, 2 from Thailand, Chinese, 1 or 2 Chinese. Probably about 15 to 20 overseas boys at any one time.
How did they fit in?
All right, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, but
that's been quite a challenge to come from Borneo to Tettenhall, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, actually, the Borneo guy was Scottish.
Oh, I see. Okay. Right.
Yeah. He and his 2 brothers come to the college sent by their mum and dad, who lived in Borneo because the father was an engineer out there.
I see.
So he used to come back over. The only time he saw his parents was summer holidays. The Duncan family. That was Andrew, who was in my year. Yeah, we used to get on okay with one another. There was no fisticuffs over that.
What was the fisticuffs over then?
Bullying. It's just 100 octane unpleasant bullying. For a couple of years in the middle of the 5-year tenure that I had in the upper school, it was a bit unpleasant because you saw some of these boys coming in the opposite direction and you'd just jump out the window because you knew damn well you were going to get punched as they walked past you. I don't know whether the teaching profession has finally got a grip on this, to be honest with you, because, again, my children started to get bullied when they were about 8 or 9, and my mum and dad had always said, turn the other cheek, and I used to think, what, so they can punch that one as well? No. So I took my children to kickboxing lessons. I hope the modern schools have got a grip on it, and whether they have or not is another thing. I don't remember any overt racism. There was nobody bellowing rude words at one another or anything like that. If anything, it was taken. If there was anything racist-y made, a comment or anything, it was usually funny, and everybody laughed. And it was genuine laughter. It wasn't, oh yeah.
Because this is the era of Enoch Powell's speech, of course, isn't it? Yeah.
It is the era, yes.
Yeah, 68, I think, wasn't
it? Yeah. Dad did a filling for him.
Oh, did he really? Yeah. Strange things. The people
there.
You end up in your dentist chair, you know.
Absolutely, yes, yeah.
So you actually, it sounds like, apart from that sort of bullying period, which the teachers didn't really do much about.
They didn't. I don't think they could because these bullies are a pretty sneaky lot. They do it when nobody's looking.
Yeah.
But when they'd gone, because they wanted to go after O-levels, suited me fine. I could just get on with it. And because the people left in the 6th form are the ones who want to be there. Well, they might not want to be there, but
there's a bit of a commitment.
There's a bit of commitment to it, basically. Yes.
Yeah. So would you say that was? I mean, it sounds like you were very enjoyed the early years you were there,
and the later ones.
Not so much the middle ones, and then the later ones again.
Yeah.
Really, with
overall, I thoroughly enjoyed my time at Tettenhall College.
And it gave you a good foundation.
Gave me a good foundation.
So what would you say were your happiest memories of the place?
I used to enjoy taking part in the drama stuff. So there was a Gilbert and Sullivan Society there, and I took part in that. It was mostly parents and teachers and the like, and 1 or 2 Tettenhallians. Just a few, not very many at all. But
so the parents performed, did they?
Some of the parents performed, yes. Some outsiders who were known in Bilston Operatic and the like, they'd come and perform as well, yeah. But that had to stop. When you get to O-levels, that just had to stop. So lots of it had to stop. I enjoyed being in the swimming club. That was good fun, even if the pool was wonky. That was my best sport, because I've never been very sporty. And what I have been sporty at was the minority sports. So stuff like badminton, we used to play that in the Great Hall. You can't do it now. It's got chairs all up it. There used to be fencing lessons there as well. They did archery for a while. I can remember when I was in Form 1, looking out over the out of the windows over to where the drive school and the lower school is now, and it was just all grass. and something called the Towers pitch. So there's a grass lawn, Towers lawn, then it went down a bank and then onto the Towers pitch. And in these summer evenings, I don't know which teacher it was, someone else may remember, they would have some nice lemonwood longbows and Port Orford cedar arrows and some of those round targets, the roundels.
Yeah.
And they'd be shooting at those. And I think, I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that. Anyway, as usual, I was the wrong age. I was too young. So I told Mum and Dad about it, and Dad went straight into Wolverhampton to a sports shop called Tweedy's, which was going in Berry Street, I think it was at the time. And he bought me a finger tab, which is a little leather thing you put on your fingers to protect your fingers from pulling the bowstring. Sticker on it, 20p. 20 years later, I'd still got that because I couldn't use it.
I never used it.
It's a shame. I never used that one. Yeah, but as a result of just watching that instead of doing my homework, I then took archery up as a hobby about 30 years ago. Yeah. But the Tettenhall's lands went further than that, further than the Towers pitch. And in break times, when I was in the lower school, I often used to run off down the woods. We were allowed to. It was in bounds. We were okay. Run off down the woods, having gone to the tuck shop and bought a golden cup, cost threepence. I'll go down there, eat this thing and just wander around.
Where was the tuck shop?
Tuck shop. If you come into the main entrance by what was the headmaster's office in the Towers, and you take the first left down a funny little corridor.
Yes.
You get to that funny little corridor, and on the left is what looks like a serving hatch. Yes. Or it used to be. That was the tuck shop.
Okay, so it's down that little corridor that sort of goes underneath and then ends up sort of as another entrance towards the Towers.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah.
And the headmaster's office was the first door
on the left. Yes.
As you went through the main entrance.
That's the head teachers.
So you used to go to the tuck shop, the first break or something like that?
First break, basically. Yeah. Stash up on ammunition, yes. To keep yourself going. Yeah, but the woods was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Because if you go down into the woods, you find a swimming bath.
That's Thorneycroft's old swimming bath, isn't it?
Thorneycroft's old swimming bath. And outside, derelict, white tiled, it looks like something out of a horror film with the white mucky tiles on it. And yes, it must have been something that Thorneycroft did, and it was just left to go derelict. It was like other things down there. For example, you'd find little gravestones about a foot high, and they were to the pets.
Yes.
One was nettle. I can remember nettle. I can't remember any of the other names. But there were these very unusual things down there. I kept expecting to find a Viking sword or something or other. Well,
those woods are quite ancient, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
So who were your favourite teachers then? Who did you actually feel inspired you the most?
Jeff Hancock inspired my love of history, but I couldn't do history if I wanted to be a dentist. So Jeff Hancock was one of the best teachers that ever existed there. John Chown was another absolute character, and we only found out after he died that this excellent maths teacher had worked for Bletchley Park. He went to Tettenhall College as a lad, came out and went to, I think, Cambridge. He got into Cambridge. World War II blows up and they see that he's so good, they pinch him and put him into Bletchley Park, where he stays for the rest of the war. And then, like all these Bletchley Park people, he never says a word about it. And it was only when he died that we found out that he'd actually been there. Goodness. And I've been to Bletchley since he died, and they've got a wall made of, obviously, bricks, but each brick's got a name on it, and John Chown's name's on that.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
that really is good.
On there, yeah.
So he taught you maths?
He taught maths only in the upper school. I didn't do a lot of maths. I was trying to do maths to help me with my physics. I was doing chemistry, physics and biology. It didn't work very well, but he did teach me. He was the house teacher, housemaster for Bantock House.
Was that your house?
Yeah, that was mine. Yeah, Clay in the lower school, Bantock in the upper school. And
you had different houses in the lower school.
The lower school, yes. You had green was Clay, yellow was Young, red was Shaw, and blue was Halley.
What were they named after then?
I don't know.
I mean, the others are named after prominent people from the school, headmasters and things like that.
Bantock being one of them, yes.
Yeah, but
I'm not sure, to be absolutely honest.
Because it goes right the way through the school now, of course.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, so the prep school, they're all in the 4 houses. Yeah, the same 4 houses all the way through.
Yeah, and what are the houses now?
Hayden, Bantock, Pearson and Nicholson.
Yes. Yeah, the same old ones.
The same 4 that you had in the senior school then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's right.
So you mentioned that teacher. Are there others that you particularly remember?
I remember Pat Luft because I nearly killed him with an electric shock. Speech days, great. I loved the run up to speech days. I loved because I'd usually put some extravagant experiment on display that had multiple coloured liquids in, you know. So I set this thing up, which was a copy of something called Miller's experiment, which was proof that amino acids actually make life, etc. But you needed a big electric spark to do this. Well, I couldn't get everything absolutely right. Me and Pat Luft couldn't get it. It was university level stuff and it was way beyond me. But I could put a demonstration on. And he said, yeah, well, we've got a flask with some electrode ports in the side. So we'll just stick 2 of these great big carbon electrodes in with a 2-inch gap in between. Is about 5,000 volts, I think he said. Maybe it was 2, but it was a lot of thousands. And during the afternoon, some parents asked him a question about this. And I was upstairs in the physics lab attending to some other creation of mine, when a guy called Peter Cox, Mr. Cox, was one of the bursars. Yeah, Peter Cox was at the school as well. Came downstairs, stuck his head around the door and said, "You've just electrocuted Mr. Luft." I thought, oh, God. And I imagined that I was going to go up there and find a pair of shoes smouldering on the floor and a hole in the ceiling. But luckily, it just gave him a nasty jolt. He was quite forgiving about it. He knew it wasn't deliberate. But yeah, I liked him. He was a nice chap. John Capper taught maths. He and his wife were Quakers, and he ran the scout troop, and he was a really good guy as well. He was a nice man.
So there was actually a scout troop at the school then, was
there?
The
3rd Tettenhall College scout troop.
Actually at the college?
Actually at the college.
So not 3rd Tettenhall, it was 3rd Tettenhall
College. No, 3rd
College.
Tettenhall bracket college bracket.
Oh, right.
And it had been going for years, since it started, who knows. Jim Baxter was in charge of it first. Another thing I tried to join and I was too young for, so I had to wait a year. Then John Capper took over. That was good. That got you outside a bit and did some things, you know. Yeah. That was an interesting time. But the standard, the Union flag and the patrol flag, the troop flag rather, they used to be brought down from the chapel for parades. And then at the end of the day, it was usually my job to pick them up and run with these 2 standards flaming behind me and stick them back in the holders in the chapel again. I don't know where they are now but I did see them. I've been going back to the towers every so often for various other things, and I happened to be in a room where these 2 old flags were, and they were in a tatty state, very tatty state. There's a Union flag and there's a green scout troop flag.
Okay.
And it might be an idea to see if we can track those down, you know. I've got a horrible feeling they've gone, because they were looking a bit moth-eaten when I last found them. In the big school dining room, there were photographs all the way around. I should think it's several hundred of them, 150 at least. And they were all of teams, rugby players, hockey players. That's how I know hockey was played there. Cricket players, cricket. All the teams around. Now, if somebody's thrown all those out, it's a travesty. Yeah. But I can see it happening. Yeah. Because somebody just didn't want the storage problem.
And they were framed, presumably.
Yes,
yeah.
All framed in one huge job.
I mean, my son's always been very happy with the food at Tettenhall, but it's one of the topics that people often bring up. What was the food like?
Right. Let's start at the beginning. Mustard was my first memory. And we used to troop down to big school and sit on these large trestle tables, which got green lino on the top of them and aluminium edging all the way around. Oh, yeah. And we'd sit on benches, which would take about 6 or 8 boys, I suppose, something like that, which were very awkward because when you got up from them at the end of the meal, everyone said, right, everybody rise, and everyone would stand up, and the back of your legs would catch the bench and knock it flying. It would fall over backwards. They weren't very stable. Then you were in trouble. Then you were in trouble. The likes of Mr. Cope were after you then for knocking the thing over. Of course, some boys did it deliberately, ho, ho, ho. But some didn't. The food, to start off with, was standard issue. First World War, meat and 2 veg and plum pudding or something. It was pretty bad. But tea was different. You had lots of bread, loads of jam, loads of butter. I developed a taste for tea because I didn't like it till then. So I developed a taste for drinking tea. And sometimes there'd be some bun or something, and sometimes there'd be a main course of something like toad in the hole, which was very boy friendly. That was. It's the lunch times that were absolutely dire, I thought. But as the years went by, they got better. There was one lad who fell foul of Mr. Cope yet again. We were just about finishing this meal, and Cope got up and said, what was the boy's name? Let's just call him Smith. Smith, you've just been very, very rude about Mrs. Someone or other's grey stew. And I remember thinking, that's what we were eating. Grey stew. It was stew, and it was grey. And I left most of mine. I just didn't like it. And I thought, boy's got good judgment. But Cope had him stand up in front of the entire school, lower school, and apologise to the poor woman for her awful cooking, which she should frankly have been apologising to us. But it got better and better until the last couple of 3 years. It was of a really good standard, actually. I got no problem with it.
I mean, the range of it today is incredible.
Yes.
I think, anyway,
yes.
compared with what we were used to 50 years ago. But, of course, expectations rise, don't they? That's the other thing,
That's what you're paying for, as I say.
Yeah. We're told when parents choose a school, actually what the children think about the food is actually one of the decisive factors these days. Yeah, right. It's quite important.
Yes. Yeah.
If they don't like the food,
we're not going there. Yes,
that sort of thing. Yeah. So the food's very important.
No, it did get better. We didn't have any lessons in cooking or home economics, as it was called then. Nothing whatsoever. And I think that was possibly because it was still expected that girls did all the cooking. Yeah. There were no girls at Tettenhall College at all until about 1975, 74.
So do you remember them coming, the first ones? Yeah.
Yeah, I did just about.
Yeah. What was that like? It must have been quite tough for them,
well, I'd got a smaller sister, younger sister, 6 years junior, so I knew what girls could be like. But I didn't know what teenage girls were like, and neither did anybody else by the look of it. And it was sort of trouble. It was confusion. You didn't know. You know, if they upset you, you couldn't punch them on the nose. You might want to have done, but you couldn't do it. So the rules of the place changed. Now, looking back on it, I think it was an excellent thing. Because I think that usually, not always, but usually having a mixed school is better than having a single-sex school.
Moderates behaviour, doesn't it, and things,
It does moderate behaviour. The boys tend to act better. I don't know whether the girls do. I've got no idea. But having been there a few times, being guided around by current Tettenhallians and the like, what a nice bunch. Yeah, they really are a very well brought up bunch.
And also, isn't it part of life?
Yes.
Actually, I mean, this sort of sequestering of the sexes in separate schools is slightly odd, isn't it, really?
Well, it is, because 50% of the population are of the opposite sex. You're going to bump into one day.
Exactly. So you're creating something that's artificial, aren't you, really, at that time? Although I suppose there were a lot of theories, weren't there, around, and still are, I suppose, that certainly occasionally single-sex schools, the academic performance can sometimes be better. That's one of the arguments that's been advanced, isn't it, over the years?
Yes.
But certainly in terms of the culture and the environment, Tettenhall College feels a very inclusive place today, doesn't it? Not just in terms of, the sexes, but also in terms of different nationalities and so on and so forth, really.
Yes.
Yeah, more diverse, I suppose.
The nationalities, I mean, most of the overseas people that came to TC were from the Asian subcontinent. Most of them, not all. We didn't have many Europeans. When I left
Was it
the
Commonwealth
college,
then, would you say? More Commonwealth?
That's it, Commonwealth. That's exactly the right way to say it.
Yeah.
When I left, I actually became the dentist for Tettenhall College for the boarders, because I was only up the road and people seemed to know me. And we had phases of people coming in. We had a lot of Army and Air Force children coming in because the government would pay for them. And it was something, one of the wars we were involved with, people were getting posted all over the place. And they didn't want to be dragging their children off all over the place. So they wanted more boarding school. Then we went through, when I was there was quite a few Arabs there from Bahrain, Saudi in particular, and the like. They were wealthy. They were nice enough, but they were really wealthy. And I remember the one, he used to get £400 pocket money per term.
Wow.
It's £1,200 a year. It's in about 1974. And he just used to go in the village, and there was a place in the village over Star's used shop, or whatever it's called the Blue Room. It was a coffee room.
Okay.
And Tettenhallians used to go there. Sometimes it'd be banned because someone had misbehaved, and then 6 weeks you can't go. But yeah, you'd go there and then blow it on that, or cheap plastic toys or something. It was just incredible.
So a different world, really, in many
totally
ways. I mean, you were privileged in a way, but this was another level entirely.
Yeah. Totally another level, I've always said that I was born with a stainless steel spoon in my mouth.
That's a nice way of putting it.
In other words, I was 1960s. Everything was stainless steel.
Yeah.
It was sort of middle class. That's where I was born into. I wasn't born with a wooden spoon or a silver spoon in my mouth or anything. That's from The Who, isn't it? It is The Who.
That's right,
yes.
That's a very nice way of putting it, actually, isn't it?
Stainless steel spoon in my mouth.
Sort of this middle class, I suppose, really, isn't it? Yeah. And aspirational.
Yes, that's right.
And wanting the best for their children and having had the university education and thinking I'm going to give them the best platform possible. Yeah. I can afford to do it, and therefore that will give them possibly the best opportunity to make their way in life, I suppose. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and you don't have any regrets about it by the sounds of it. You enjoyed Tettenhall College.
I loved it. I mean, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't be going back to the towers. I wouldn't want to go into the chapel or anything like that. Yeah, I'll just talk about the towers a bit, because it is the most amazing building in Wolverhampton. The place ended up looking like a modern fortress with its own plumbing, to be honest. A very modern system of water supply and drainage that Thorneycroft put in.
Well, he actually introduced water into the building, didn't he?
Into the building, which is most people are trying to keep it out.
Yeah,
but even when I was there was Victorian and Edwardian bric-a-brac everywhere. You'd walk around a corner off a flight of stairs onto the balcony, and there'd be a great big glass case with a fully inflated pufferfish in it.
And the Victorians liked collecting things like that, didn't they? Yeah.
You'd walk around another corner, and there'd be a big Doric column about 6 feet off the floor with a carving on the top of it. Well, apparently when the house was sold by the two sisters who owned it, Thorneycroft's daughters, the builders went in to strip it all out to make it into a school, and they were told, any of this that you want, take it. People were walking out with elephants' feet and suits of armour and all sorts of stuff, which were collector's items.
This is 1940s, I suppose, wartime and everything as well.
Yeah, that's right. But even so, there was still a lot of stuff left there. But I have noticed over the years it's become more Spartan. It's gone. Some of it, I reckon, has been half-inched. But there's some stuff that's screwed so firmly to the wall that it becomes the wall that is still there. For example, on the other side of the balcony from where the pufferfish was, is a great big a wooden seat there, and you can open it up, and don't ask me why, there's a big oblong rock in there, and all the lost property stuff kept in there. It used to be full of socks. Equally, in Mr. Davies' music room, there is a plaster frieze about 18 inches on the side that was painted blue when I was there. I think it's white now, but it's still there, and it has to have been there for 65 to 70 years plus. It's the stuff that's there is old. It really is old. And it may not be to everybody's tastes, but I'm glad it's still there.
I think there's probably a much better attitude towards conservation now than there probably has been at any stage in probably the school's history in many ways, because of course the building is recognised as a grade 2 star listed building. That Thorneycroft's innovations are now considered to be historic. And with the restoration of the roof, I don't know whether this is reassuring to you or not, but for instance, on one of the main towers where the flag pole was, the remains of a chimney. but only around about 5 or 6 brick courses had survived, and they were crumbling away.
Right.
This thing had been capped off, probably 1920s, you know, by the look of it. But it was insisted by the architect who was advising on the historic fabric of the building that it couldn't just be removed and made a flat roof, that actually they had to produce an outline in the new roof to show where this chimney had been.
Wind. Yes.
Yeah, rather than removing it totally, to, you know, at least keep the historic fabric and the nature of it in place. So I think there's a lot more of that kind of approach now than there probably was at any stage in the last 60, 70 years, probably.
Yes.
The tower's a wonderful building. You mentioned Mr. Field Hyde and Mr.
I
Dale.
did, yes. I remember his very last year there and his last speech day, because all the speeches were being made, and it came up to a thank you for him and congratulations on your retirement. And they said, and we'd like to present you with this. And one of the boys came round the corner with a lawnmower. And he was overjoyed at getting his lawnmower.
Fair enough.
Speech days were generally held on the tower's lawn. I've got a photograph somewhere or other of the lorry unloading everything to put the marquee up. It was a massive marquee. Okay. So it was quite sweltering in there if the weather was like this.
Yes, they can get very,
they
very
were
hot.
Really good days, the speech days. I liked them. Yeah. I went back to 1 or 2 afterwards because I was the dentist for the college, for the boarders.
What about Mr. Dale? Because he was head for a long time, wasn't he?
He was there for, almost all my tenure. He took over from Field Hyde in the second year I was there. I didn't have anything to do with him until I got into the upper school.
Did he teach then?
He did. He was teaching French and German, yes. Yeah. And he'd have small group sessions, basically, with students.
Small tutorial groups.
What am I talking about? Yeah. He'd have tutorials with students in small groups. He was a nice chap. He was a very bright man. His nickname was Clink, because he used to keep some loose change and keys in his pocket, and he was always clink, 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 clinking these as a habit. So he was known as Clink. The shout would go up, Clink, coming, and everyone would hide.
At least that was a polite nickname.
It was polite.
Compared with some of
the other ones, yes.
Yeah.
No, he was. I think he was a good headmaster.
Yes.
I think he reached the end of his tenure there, just at the right time to pass the baton on to the next generation.
And that's when the girls are starting to come in.
Yeah,
and there's
the girls
change.
are starting to come in a lot more.
Things are changing, I suppose.
They were in the 6th form when I was there, about 1974 or 3. They were in the 6th form then, but then they started to come throughout the entire school. That was just after I'd left, a year or 2 after I'd left.
And so, of course, with the tradition, no football.
No football. Oh, yes, right. Yeah, that even went to television. It went to Midlands Today, I think it was. There was a boy called Mark Lishman who was absolutely adamant he wanted football at the college. So he managed to get himself on the telly. But he went there and the programme went out and no football.
And chess as well, you said?
Yeah, I used to play some chess. My brother was the real chess man. And it was Jeff Hancock who had organised that. And he used to organise for a British grandmaster, a chap called Anderson, to come and do simultaneous matches, which I'd never got the guts. Yeah, he'd just walk around the table and beat everybody. And I'd never got the guts to go in there. I should have done it for the experience, but yeah.
And music on records as well.
Yeah, Mr. Roberts, Dr. Roberts as he is now, used to run a music club. I didn't go to that. I was in the performative side, but he had a music club on vinyl. He literally had a stack of vinyls this high, tucked up his corner, basically in his room. And people would go into his room, they'd all sit there and listen to a bit of Prokofiev or whatever for 45 minutes before tea. No, it was more the performing side I was on. I played the clarinet in the lower school orchestra to no great effect. But there was quite a lot of singing to be done. We were in all sorts of stuff. Madrigals, rock operas, all manner of things we were involved in. And again, it was commonly a mixture of boys and masters. The college actually wrote its own musical, a lady called Olwyn Hutke and Tom Blacklock. Tom Blacklock used to teach classes with guitar, and he'd give the class, and he got a cigarette in his mouth as well.
Those were the days.
Those were the days. I mean, Colin Cope used to have a glass of sherry in his hand, and he'd stick the wire of the off the machine head of the guitar through the filter of the cigarette. So this cigarette was bobbing up and down on the machine head of his guitar. But they wrote this rock opera called Samson and Delilah, and a whole bunch of us were in that. That went down very well.
And you said about security that it was fairly...
Security.
Was there any?
There wasn't any. Basically, particularly in the later years, I could walk up there from home. It was only a mile and a bit. Go and see Andrew Duncan for a while, and Bob Buchanan. And you could just walk straight in through the quadrangle, through the doors. Oh, boarding house, big school, upstairs. You come out of that, you go into the chapel, up the chapel, sing a few hymns at 3 a.m. if you wanted to. Come back out, you go to the towers. The whole of the towers was unlocked and open everywhere. I mean, it did have some people living in it, even when I was in my dotage there. But there was never any problem. There were never any break-ins, never anything smashed, never anything nicked. Nowadays, I notice everybody has got a card.
Lanyards, yeah.
Yeah, it's Lanyard City, like many other places.
Yeah, I suppose it has to be as well, with safety as well for the students.
Yes, it does. Well. Yes, I can fully understand why. But it's a shame it's come to that, really.
Did you used to go in then, when you entered the school, did you used to go in then by big school? Is that where you used to go in through the quadrangle there? Or
no,
you go through the main gate? Or?
Most people went through the main gate. They get dropped off on the pavement somewhere there, booted off there, and walk through the main gate.
So, I mean, in the end, what would you say the school did for you?
It made me unusual. I don't think I'm quite normal, and I don't think many of the boys and possibly girls are your normal run-of-the-mill kid out of an ordinary school, and they would probably take that as a compliment. That's what
not normal in a good way.
Not normal in a good way. It's given me a vast amount of different interests, which is a shame, really, because I've become expert at absolutely nothing over the years. But it's made me a bit different, I think.
But in a good way.
In a good way, yes.